Debate, the honourable member for Albany St. John.
It's an honour today to speak and reply to the speech to the throne, which we know is just a speech, Madam Speaker. It's a speech that basically we've seen before. In 2015, there was promises made, similar promises. We can look at this speech from the throne. I think what we really got was a litany of broken promises from the Liberal Party on things that actually matter, that are important to Canadians, Madam Speaker. Especially, we've seen through this pandemic the gaps in the social safety net, and people are struggling right now. They're struggling to stay employed and to keep a roof over their heads and put food on the table for their families. This isn't a time for just words, it's time for action. And Madam Speaker, this pandemic, like I said, has exposed the huge gaps in the social safety net, things that we've been talking about, the importance of 10 paid sick days so that people aren't going to work that are sick and infecting their colleagues, or taking care of their own health, or being able to stay home and look after their children when their children might be having signs of having the virus, Madam Speaker. We can't go backwards. We know that so many things aren't working right now for people. This pandemic has exposed that in so many areas. Our healthcare system, where it isn't covering everybody. People are, losing their jobs without able to make ends meet. And given even with the CERB, which many people are still not able to cover their bills, and that's set to expire in 9 days. And we're being told that Canadians are expected to take a cut, many of them, on the CERB payment. People that have lost their businesses that they closed to protect public health, and now the government's looking at penalizing them. People were excited about the speech from the throne. They were expecting transformational change. The government talked about building back better, but they missed so many things, Madam Speaker, and it's heartbreaking. When I look at the things that they didn't talk about, the opioid crisis was just briefly mentioned. They still haven't even declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency. In August alone in British Columbia, we lost 147 lives. These are daughters and sons and brothers and sisters and cousins of people, families and community members that are dying from a tainted drug supply, Madam Speaker. And the government still has not rolled out a plan to save those people's lives. Madam Speaker, there was nothing for veterans. Can you believe it, Madam Speaker? The people that have put their lives on the line to serve Canadians, to protect Canadians, many of them suffering from PTSD, or they're in the backlog of over 50,000, the growing backlog of claims that the government hasn't even opened their envelope and started working on. Madam Speaker, we're seeing a growing amount of homeless veterans. The Royal Legion Command wrote a letter to the government asking for help. They're saying that 1 in 10 legions across the country are looking at closing their doors permanently, Madam Speaker. In British Columbia, BC and Yukon Command wrote a letter saying it might be 4 in 10 legions that are closing their door. No mention in the speech from the throne. That speech is meant to be where the government's going. So clearly they're going to leave veterans behind, Madam Speaker. This is absolutely shameful, Madam Speaker. They should be responding to the veterans. They haven't even gotten a letter of response for their request for help, Madam Speaker. So this is just highlighting the importance of the people that are being left behind. Students that were promised that they were going to get help. My daughter, on April 24th, watched the news, and the Prime Minister said, "We need your help. We know you can't go to work because your business where you worked is closed. Your summer job may not happen. We need you to go out and volunteer." My daughter went out, delivered food at the local food bank with her friends, helping contribute. Then on June 25th, the Prime Minister comes back and announces a program, says, "It starts today, and we're going to help you." They felt betrayed. They felt like, what? How could this be happening? Then the WE scandal emerges, Madam Speaker, and they don't get any help. So there's nothing in the speech from the throne targeted to these students. There's $900 million still allocated for these students that needs to get out the door to these students. And if you do the math, then there's $450 that could go towards tuition, potentially to each student across this country. A lot of students don't know how they're going to get through the school year, Madam Speaker. No help from this government. They have questions. And, this is our future. This is important that we invest in them. Nothing about wild salmon, Madam Speaker. We have the largest salmon-bearing river in the world in the Fraser. Last year was half of the lowest recorded return in Canadian history, in recorded history. This year was half of that, Madam Speaker. We are losing our wild salmon. Nothing in the speech from the throne to address that. We need help. We need this government to understand the importance of salmon to British Columbians. And while I'm on British Columbia, Madam Speaker, my colleague from Vancouver East did a question on the order paper to find out how it's going on the national housing strategy and how that's rolling out for people. Well, I'll tell you in British Columbia how it's rolling out. We got 0.5% of the National Co-Investment Fund, of the $1.46 billion fund, and this is affirmed in a question on the order paper as I see people shaking their heads across the way. Just ask the homeless people right now how that's playing out for them. In our communities, it's real, Madam Speaker. No mention of Indigenous urban housing in the speech from the throne. 80% of Indigenous people live off reserve. Many of them are homeless, and they're not getting the help they need, Madam Speaker, from the federal government. And ask the province of BC, they know that they're not getting funding. This is also supported by the minister there that has been fighting hard to make sure people have a home in British Columbia. And we're building half of the non-market housing in the country right now in our province. And I'm very proud of our provincial government for the work they're doing. But they could be doing a lot more with the help from this government. Madam Speaker, there are so many things that are missing in this speech from the throne. There's still no fix for the commercial emergency rent assistance program. They're still relying on landlords. That's why they've only got a third of the money out the door, Madam Speaker. 15% of landlords have applied for the program. And the rest of the people, the tenants that need the help the most, they still haven't fixed the program so they can apply for it. I do applaud the government for responding to our request when we asked for the wage subsidy to go from 10% to 75%. We appreciate them working with us. Last week we sent a letter asking them to extend the wage subsidy. They honored that. These are very important supports for small business and medium-sized business across our country. And I urge the government to fix the commercial emergency rent assistance program. Madam Speaker, when it comes to Indigenous peoples, they say their most important relationship is Canada's Indigenous peoples. Yet, the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls calls to justice document was tabled a year ago, over a year ago, Madam Speaker. And a constituent of ours, of my riding, Chantal Moore, died on the anniversary of that document being tabled, and the government had done nothing to respond to the calls to justice. They're still failing to address the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Madam Speaker. And when it comes to respecting Indigenous rights, we can look to the New Chalmers court case where they've spent $19 million just on lawyers fighting them. No different than the Micmac, Madam Speaker. Right now, that, a court decision in 1999, the Marshall decision, and they're frustrated, Madam Speaker. They all only just want to go out and earn a moderate living. They just want to feed their families. They want to be on the water fishing, not in court, Madam Speaker. And this government does nothing in this speech from the throne about addressing that. They haven't resourced the tables. They send their negotiators to the table knowingly empty-handed. How is that? How is that treating your most important relationship? Well, people are living in terrible conditions, trying to figure out how they're going to feed their families. This is not honorable, Madam Speaker. They talked about planting trees. They haven't planted a tree since their last speech from the throne. Nothing. Clean energy. They haven't met a single climate target, Madam Speaker, that they set out. Not one. They talked about broadband. They promised that before. And we look at pharmacare. People are living in pain. They can't fill their prescriptions, Madam Speaker. They promised and promised. They promised this in 1997 under Jean Chrétien in the Red Book. And they're promising again today. Childcare. We learn from our colleagues and our friends from Quebec that have delivered a childcare plan across their province. And 70,000 women have been back to work. Their GDP's gone up 2%, mostly women, I should say. This is critical that they do this now, that we get action. No more talk, Madam Speaker. It's time and it's urgent. And we need this government to respond, and we'll be here to continue to drag them to follow through with their promises in this speech from the throne, Madam Speaker. They can count on you Democrats to do that. We've done that through this pandemic, and we're going to do it. We're going to be here every day fighting for everyday Canadians.